name is Reese Cook. I'm the city manager for Sweeny. I came into the position in December of this previous year after the previous city manager resigned back in August. I grew up in Sweeny in the surrounding area, not specifically in town. I lived outside of town, but I graduated from Sweeny High School in 2004. I went to Lamar University and obtained a civil engineering degree. And then from there, I became a rigging engineer in Houston for about 4 years for a small company. And then I started working for Phillips 66. I was there for about 7 years as an engineer, and then various supervisory positions. And was talked into the city manager position, said that it would be a good opportunity. So I took it, and that's where I'm at now. I've very much enjoyed the previous 11 months. It has been a very big change, a very different from what I've done in careers past, but a welcome change, and I've really enjoyed it. I love this town, love the people in this town. I've lived in Beaumont when I was at school, and I've lived in Houston. I've lived here. There's not many other places that I'd like to live. I'm sure most of you can also agree with that statement. So a couple of things that I wanted to talk about. Lisa reached out and asked me earlier about coming and doing the program. So I don't have a presentation or anything, just kind of open dialogue on some things. First, I did want to say thank you to Rotary for the wind chimes or the musical instruments. I think it's going to be a great addition to the park. It's something different. It's something new. It's very inclusive for everybody, right? Something that I noticed as I came in. Our parks don't have any they don't have a lot of inclusivity items, what they call inclusive items, right? For people in wheelchairs or handicaps or even moms with a stroller. And so that's something that Lisa and I kind of talked about a little bit about trying to shape our parks a little bit differently to where they can actually have those items, right? Both Backyard Park and MLK Park on the other side of town. So a couple of other things I want to talk about before I get into sort of the big picture of the park. So a few things that are going to happen in the city that you should be seeing this year, end of this year, first part of next year, is our water bond project. So it's a $4 million project to change out a lot of the aging infrastructure, a lot of the domestic water infrastructure. It's going to be down Main Street, Azalea and Camellia, Ashley Wilson, Hackberry, 2nd Street. And it's going to change out a lot of the main water lines that provide the service water to your homes. So that's going to be kicking off. That's been a very long engineering process due to how we have to do that project to be the least impact and the least disruptive to the community. So that's coming on. We're also working, or the city's working on 2 mitigation projects that the General Land Office has presented in grant format. Those are in excess of $10 million. And those are going to be to improve the drainage and hurricane and flooding mitigation around the town. So something that if you've lived here for any period of time, you're probably well aware that we don't have very good drainage around the town. And then the previous storms from 15, 16, and 17 have drastically changed the topography of not only our area, but the areas around us. And that has impacted drainage as well. So these projects are really good projects that the GLO is putting out and allowing us, and they're very exclusive to only counties and cities that were impacted by previous 3-year storms. So it doesn't go out, to the entire nation, right, or to the entire state. It stays local to here. And then as far as local drainage projects are concerned, we've had very good success this year with the drainage district taking on larger projects that they're footing the bill for around town and even outside of town to help locally with some of the drainage until some of these larger projects go on. So that's just kind of a little bit of a flavor of the things that the city's doing around town. So the thing that I mentioned to Lisa the other day, I was in Fort Worth this past weekend, just took a quick family trip up there to get away. And near our hotel, there's a park. It's called the Dream Park. You can look it up. I think it's dreamparkfortworth.com or something like that. But you can look it up online. The Dream Park was developed by this lady. She came in, she moved into Fort Worth, and she saw a need for a very inclusive park, right? And they didn't have one in Fort Worth. They actually have two now. Dream Park is on one side of town, and then they have another inclusive park on the other side of town. But the one we were at is Dream Park, and over 90% of the park was funded through donations, through different businesses and larger corporations. I'm not sure what the total cost was on the park, but it's in excess of millions of dollars, probably maybe $2.5 or $3 million. And then through personal donations as well. So something that I thought that was very interesting was, as you come into the park, it's fully gated, just a little, 3-foot, I'd say wrought iron fence, not really wrought iron, but that style. So it keeps the kids in, right? There's only one way in, one way out. It's through the front of the park. But something that was really interesting, they had a sign. It's probably about this size of this little bulletin board back here, but it was at the entrance of the park, and anybody that made any donation to the park, their name was on this sign. And then they also, through the entrance of the park, they had little paver stones that had been engraved, and it had people's names and things like that, in memory of this person, this donation, whatever it was. And I thought that was really interesting. And I've seen that in a lot of places where in other cities that are what I would consider, I would say successful. That might not be the right word, but there's a lot of integration between the community groups, right? Between Rotary and Chamber and Beautification and everything else that's out there. When those groups work together, really good things happen for the community. And so when I brought the Dream Park idea to Lisa, we have a lot of real estate at the backyard park, and to me, we have a lot of other parks around the area that people go to, right? My kids go to, they go to Angleton, or they go to Lake Jackson, or they go to Bay City, right? I think one of the things that we should strive for or one of the things that I would like to do as the city is that our backyard park becomes one of those parks, right? Where these people from Lake Jackson or Angleton, they're coming here to go to the park. And I think that would be a very good attraction for the city. And I think there's a lot of ways that we can make that happen through the different organizations. And like I said, if we come up with an actual park plan, right, get a committee together that says, hey, this is what we want to do with the real estate that we have. Here's all these different committees or groups, and then present that to the community, obviously with a dollar figure and with options of, hey, Bulldog Cafe, we'd like to donate X amount of dollars for a park bench, or we'd like to donate this for this. I think it would be a really good project for the city, something that we could highlight within the city that we really don't have or have really never had in the past. So that's sort of just some of the projects. I had also mentioned that I was going to come up here and just kind of be free to any questions. If you guys had anything, comments or concerns from the community. Yes, ma'am.
I know where there's a lot of land. And also, if you think about it, the park, they're all south of Maine, but we don't really have anything north of Maine with the majority of our population. But like I said, I know where there's a lot of land. I know where there's land. I'm a realtor. No, what's up?
Yeah, I know what land she's talking about. So I think
and there's money too in the EDC. They're sitting there with 400. They're sitting there with $400,000 in their bank account, and really that could be a project that could economically stimulate as well as benefit the children. Because if you draw people to our community, they're going to go to the Bulldog. They're going to go to the dollar store because they need some wipes or their stewards. If you bring that up, we also have that big plot of land. Unfortunately, at this time, it's only slated for light industry, and we would like to change that. I'd like to see the community center turn into a larger library, and then I would like to see maybe even an FFA or ag area out there too. But that's something that the city and the EDC have to work on together. And the club. Yeah, we can all be part of it.
Yeah, and I think, kind of looking across the group, myself included, right, we're all kind of integrated into these different groups and different organizations. Sometimes we span 2 or 3, right, whether it be Rotary or Chamber or EDC or whatever the case may be. Something that that I've noticed, or at least I feel that I've noticed in my short tenure, is tension might not be the right word, but it's the word that I'm going to use, between these different groups of, I want this to be mine, or I want this to be mine, or I want my name on this. And I think that's very relevant to what we do, right? Because you should get recognition for the things that you do. But I also think that recognition can span multiple groups at one time and everybody be recognized. And instead of it being, hey, I was able, or my group, right, was able to put in X amount of dollars. Well, did we talk to all the other groups? Did we talk to the city? Did we talk to all these other people? And instead of putting in, $5,000, we collectively put in $25,000, right? And we've increased the project, right, fivefold or even more than that. So I think those opportunities are available. I don't think those opportunities have been seized in the past. And that would be one of the very large initiatives that I would like to take on this next year is collectively getting these groups. Obviously, we have different roles and different things that we can all do, but getting everybody on the same page, the same vision of what we want to do, right? Talking about the library. So we flooded the library this year. That expansion just to the back of the library is about $250,000. So that's an expansion to the library and then also to remodel the inside. So if that would just be the library side. So that's just the library.
Does the county help with that?
The county does not help with that. So the county provides the staff and the county provides the books and the city provides the building, and some other funds that go into that. There's a Friends of the Library or the Library Friends. I'm not sure what the organization's called. They have money set aside, not in the $250,000 range that we're looking at. So it's about I think it was a little over $230,000, I think was the price tag, to do that expansion and do a full remodel on the inside.
I know in 1999, you and Rhonda and several other people, they created this. I don't know if you've ever seen it, right? But I have it on my desk. I'm going to share it with you. And a lot of the ideas that we're talking about now were back then in 1999.
Yeah, so a lot of it's funny you say that, right? So 99, what was that, 20 something years ago, I guess, or 30 years ago now. These ideas, like you said, yeah, they've been around for 20, 30, 50, 80 years, some of them, right? I mean, I have stuff from the 80s in my desk or stuff that people have given me from previous councils. They're like, hey, we talked about this, we approved this. So, man, this is a really great project. Like, did y'all do anything with it? It's like, oh no, it kind of died on the vine. Like, well, why? Oh, because of money this or money that or this group this or whatever the case may be. So nothing that I'm talking about is new, right? And I don't want to go reinvent the wheel. If there's a project out there that is good, maybe we tweak it a little bit, and we try to see something happen, right? An expansion over there or something at the industrial park. I think there's some contractual things that would have to be worked out with that to change the zoning on that. But why not try, right? And to me, that's a lot of stuff has died on the vine because for whatever reason, we didn't want to try. It was just, it's industrial, so we might as well not try to zone it. No, let's try to zone it commercial or try to zone it residential potentially and do this or partial zonings, right? It can be platted differently and zoned differently. So I'm very open and as transparent as I possibly can be legally. And so my door is always, I'll leave some cards up here too. It'll have all my information on it. I'll just put those out since I have those. My door at City Hall is, I'm going to say always open, but call first, because City Hall is closed, but you can get in if I have a meeting set up. My email's on there, my phone number's on there. I'm very open to the community to give me feedback, give me criticism, give me different ideas, so that we can kind of work, from the city side and also integrate with the different organizations like we did with Rotary. I thought that worked out really well. It just by happenstance, right? We talked about that. We had put in the new playground. Y'all were looking for a project. It was perfect. Right. So,
and everything went so smoothly. And that was, I think, back to what you were saying. If we're all on
Right.
And setting the post. Literally, you had it marked Monday morning after y'all met for 5 to 10 minutes. I mean, whatever, or however long you met. You know,
Right.
I'm just like, that is incredible. Like, I couldn't even send text out fast enough.
Right. So the meeting you're talking about, so it hasn't been organized yet, but it is slated for November. We had one meeting prior to everything shutting down. But yes, another meeting is designated. Some of our groups are governed by Open Meetings Act. Some of them are not. So we have to keep that in mind. But so I'm trying to schedule a meeting for November, and that would be the city, beautification, chamber, Rotary, EDC. I think that's all we had in there. I'm trying to think. I think there's some other auxiliary organizations that have come and gone and come and gone, and there might be a couple people that are still involved. You mentioned Garden Club. I think there's, the Lions Club might still have some stuff. There's probably some other clubs out there that I may not just be aware of, but obviously because council's meeting and because EDC's meeting, I think they're governed by Open Meetings Act. Maybe, I'm not sure who else is. Chamber might also be. Chamber is not. Okay. So at least two of the organizations are OMA. So we have to provide that open to the public and things like that. So that would probably bring in a couple other organizations. But you're right. We have to, if we're not moving in the same direction, we're all moving in a bunch of different directions. We're not going to get anything done, right? And then we're going to be pointing the finger at, well, if this person could have done this, or if this group could have done this, or that. To me, it doesn't get us anywhere. And I think we've seen what the last probably 20 years of that has done to the city, not to any grave detriment. But you could probably look across the country and see where that has put cities in ruin, both financially and from a just economic standpoint, well-being standpoint, when everybody's not all doing the same thing. So yeah, that's something that we would like to do. I've talked to council about that, of actually setting a vision for, a long-range plan, but then also having some short-range plans, because you got to have those to get to the long-range plan, right? And when you look at most successful cities, that's what they have, right? They have a 5 to 10 year is pretty common. Some of them have 20 and 25 year for much larger expenditures and expansions and things like that. So I say we start with 5 years and dial it back to do things in maybe in the fiscal year, and then also different quarters and things like that. So anyway, that's kind of all I have. Does anybody else have any questions or comments or concerns?
What is this rumor about?
So there is a rumor that was going around a couple of weeks ago. I don't know who started the rumor. I don't know why the rumor was started. But I will, on the record, here, and here, I guess, and on multiple other occasions, there was a rumor that the city manager, Reese Cook, was trying to defund the Sweeny Police Department. There has never been a discussion, ever, that was ever going to happen. There's never been a conversation about that. I've never contacted the county to say, hey, can you guys cover us if we defund? No reason to defund. We approved our budget last week. City approved their budget. The police department is in there with full force. We're actually looking at trying to build up our police department. With that, some of that stuff will be on the agenda on the 20th of this month. If you want to go in there and listen to the police department's presentation on some different projects and initiatives to make our police department better and bigger and more available and, more accessible to not only our community, but to other communities. So that rumor was, to my knowledge, put together and made at that coffee shop down the street. And that was, or wherever it came from. It didn't come from, I don't know where it came from. It didn't come from City Hall. It didn't come from me. It didn't come from our council. It's not true. Like I said, I've made one contact with Brazoria County in a legal sense, and that was with their IT person on the programming that are in our patrol cars. So that is the single contact that I've made in 11 months with the county. No other contact has ever been made. So I did, right. So I did have contact with that. So yeah, so the IT guy said we're defunding, right? So, and that's not the only rumor. I'm sure that's floating around. So,
That's the only big one out there.
yeah.
What's the timeline on the water project?
So the water project is about 12 months, starting in December. So it'll go December this year to December next year. The big reason for that is where we're doing the project. So Azalea and Camellia and Forest Park Court, all of those water lines run through people's yards. So we have to open cut dig, and we have to bore underneath sidewalks to be least disruptive. We're expanding Main Street. We're expanding that line. So we have to open cut and bore and do all that kind of, hey, we're getting all the pipes set, we're getting everything ready, and then we shut everything down and we switch it over. So it's, if it was a smaller project, or if we were doing it more residential, not over there, that's really the only place that's like that. You could open cut everything, drop a pipe in, and set it together. But because of where we're doing it and the impact that it has on businesses and homes, is why the project took a long time to engineer and design, and takes a long time to implement. So it's about a year project.
So is that potable and non-potable water?
That's only our domestic water that we service. So if you remember, maybe 2 years ago, end of first part of last year, I think maybe they did some of the sewer projects. Some of that was out on 1459, and then some of that came down Ashley Wilson. So that was sort of the sewer size, what we call the 2017 project. This is the 2019 project, but that's just when it was approved. So the drainage, the two projects, well, I'll talk to the one that we're doing locally. So locally, 5 minutes. So locally, we're working on Stevenson Slough. So last year, from Hackberry all the way out to Stevenson and Halley, the slough was cut and mopped out and cleaned up and graded. So now we're going to do the portion from Hackberry to Orange, which basically goes through Crossing Court. So that's going to be cleaned up. Once that's cleaned up, that'll drain all of this right here by the duck pond, back behind Robbie's, back behind the church property, and then we can get in there and we can do that. So we kind of have phased it. So that's what we're doing locally. And then the county's doing it. And the county's also going out to the railroad trestle, which is out as you go Ashley Wilson and you go across the tracks, you go right there to the left, there's a railroad trestle, the main drainage out of the town for everything really on the southwest side of town. They're going to cut that line all the way out to 860, come across 860, get on 809, and then cut that all the way out to, I don't know if that's Cedar Creek or Caney Creek or whatever that is, way out there, and then that keeps on going. So,
We're going to go down 809 to the communities. It's a big deal.
yep.
And then it'll go all the way back to the creek. It's
Um,
all clean. It's all mowed and clean now.
Is it concrete, or is it just?
so that's not going to be concrete. The GLO project for Stevenson Slough, so it's two projects. One is expanding the sewer plant and helping with some of our infiltration issues that we have around town. That's one half of the project. The other half is going back in Stevenson Slough, regrading and concrete lining, either concrete lining areas or riprap in other areas. But yes, to get it away from any of the brush growth or vegetation. Yes, ma'am. Pipes that run under the school. Those pipes are clean and clear. We've drained this year, earlier this year, we drained the duck pond. There's a dam on the other side of the bus barn that keeps all that water back. So that's we know that's clear because we pumped all that water out. So once we get Crossing Court done, that'll start easing its way out. As far as we know, they're not, as of within, I don't know, maybe 4 to 6 months ago is when we did that. So unless they've happened since then.
No,
But-
that's what everybody was worried about, them colors separating.
Yeah, as far as I know, they're not. Like I said, we drained from the Orange Street side with a 4-inch pump through the water over the dam, and we drain the entire duck pond. So